Ketso is designed to make running a good workshop easy. This section gives hints and tips on running a good workshop, and it follows on from the section on planning a workshop. Each piece of the kit acts as a prompt, building in decades of research into collaboration, learning and group work into the kit itself. We find it really helps to introduce each piece of the kits one by one to participants. So for instance, you put out the leaves and the pens and just introduce people to writing on the leaves and then putting the ideas down on the felt to start with. So we'll start with, just for the moment, for a little bit of green leaf thinking, the green shoots of new ideas that are going to grow in the soil that you've got here, okay, about what product or service, and then we're going to do some green leaf thinking about everything else. But first, let's just have a little bit of thought about what is it you might do. We'd recommend folding the felts over so that people can't actually see the branches and they can develop their own thinking, then introducing them later. There are a few basic messages to give to the participants at the beginning of the workshop. These are: everybody have a pen, and please use the magic pen so that this can be reused later. Write or draw one idea per leaf so we can move them around later. There are different coloured leaves for different kinds of ideas. Please write on the coloured side. Please write or draw clearly so other people can read the ideas. And if you need more than one leaf for an idea, use more than one leaf. You can download these slides for use in introducing Ketso in a workshop from our website. As you go through the workshop and get to the stage where encouraging people to share their ideas, there are a few more key messages. For everybody to share their ideas going around the circle, sharing one idea at a time, for people to put the leaves on the felt and point them at the branches, and to cluster the ideas and move them around. You may need to demonstrate that and just show people that they can move the leaves. After the warm-up exercise, it's a good time to introduce the aims of the day, an overview of the process, the facilitators, perhaps anything like using the bell to manage timing, and to allow participants to introduce themselves. If there's a lot of people, you may want to just have them introduce themselves at the table. As was discussed in the video on planning a workshop, it's a good idea to start with the positive, the soil you've got to grow ideas in. It's always important to give people a bit of time on their own to develop their ideas before sharing them, and this is something that's a pattern to repeat throughout the process. Once you've introduced the branches and opened up the felt, you can encourage people to discuss what they mean and to move the leaves around and work out what those branches mean and what they mean by the leaves by actually thinking where they fit. You may want to have a simple definition of the branches on a handout or a slide. So, yeah, there you go.
Actually, I've got community garden as well.
At any stage, somebody might come up with an idea that doesn't exactly fit that process. You can then give them an appropriate leaf. For instance, if you're looking at the positive and somebody says, but there's a real problem here, just give them a grey leaf. It's what we call the back pocket grey leaf, and capture that idea. You don't have to stick rigidly to each stage. It can also really help if you find somebody's dominating a discussion to give them a pile of leaves and say, those ideas are really important. Can you make sure you write them down and capture them? This helps you manage the process and make sure everybody has a chance to have a say. The white icons can be used to make connections between ideas. Often as you're walking around, you'll hear somebody say, oh, but this fits in more than one place, or this is connected to that idea.
And we have that problem here where, it could go here, it could go there, and there are sometimes links, especially between branches and overarching links.
You see these as connection dots as well, so you can make a link and maybe give it a code, A, or you can then demonstrate how to use the white icons and make connections, like almost breadcrumb trails between ideas. It's important to keep an eye on time during the workshop and to make sure you remember the key stages and when you need to be at them. Sometimes different groups will go through things at different speeds though, and you need to be flexible. You can manage this process a bit by giving groups the next stage perhaps at their own table with the instructions. Just give them the leaves and get them going on the next stage. You may also suggest to a group that they go into more depth on a particular topic or think about something from a different angle whilst you're waiting for the other groups to catch up. When possible, it's a really good idea to encourage people to swap tables and review another group's work using the icons to point out what's important and the comments cards to make comments or ask questions or say why something's important. You can also encourage people to indulge in a bit of industrial espionage at this point and bring back ideas to their own tables. Not the actual leaves, just the ideas, so that they can develop their own thinking and see things from slightly different perspectives. This really helps the group to learn from each other.
So this is something I've noticed and benefits from seeing their table and then rethink about the solutions I've suggested.
It is always a good idea to allow for a bit of time for plenary feedback and discussion at the end. This can be a time in particular to reiterate actions and what people are going to do differently or what they're going to do next, and to say the key takeaway messages. So the key takeaway messages for this section of the video are: give everybody a way to have an input at the same time, give people time on their own to develop their ideas before sharing them, give an activity for each stage of the process, start with the positive, end with solutions, not problems, and remember the key takeaway messages and action points.